Okay, so let's look at some questions now, getting into really the nitty gritty of it. How do I use this function notation? How do I answer these function questions? We've seen this notation already. There's three different versions of the notation that I could use. It's come up really in all these questions we've done so far. The first notation uses that f of x idea. And as I've been saying, think of that as this f with the brackets representing your function. Okay, it's not like f is a letter we're working with here like we would with x. F is purely like an operation nearly, and f there represents my function machine, represents that box that I had in the first video, and into that we are putting in different x values. So we're replacing them. So we might put 3 in, that means 3 is the input. We might put 4 in, that means 4 is the input. Okay, the next one just represents between the two dots, and the arrow means the word maps. So it maps x to x squared plus 1. So it takes an input and this is what it does to that input. And the last one then just ties together that idea that f of x is the same as y and they're interchangeable with each other. Okay. So let's look at what we need to know to be able to solve questions with our function notation. The first thing I've said is you need to be able to identify the function. So if the function is given to us in one of those more confusing notations, which to me is the middle one, the f maps x to 2x plus 7, that maybe isn't as clean as we would like to be able to work with it. So we might rewrite it as our f of x is equal to 2x plus 7. It just makes it cleaner. It makes it easier for us to work with. We're then going to look at what the given input is. If we're told x is the input, we put x into the function. Most of the time that's not going to be any change then. If they've given us a specific value like 5 or maybe q, it could be another letter instead of x, then we will replace x with that letter. Because remember, x represents our input. So if they're telling us for this question x is 5, then go with it. Anywhere you see x, put in 5. If they've given us an expression, which we might have as well, such as q minus 4, then the same idea. Everywhere we have our x value, our input, we are going to put that expression, q minus 4. We will then simplify as far as possible using our basic algebra rules. Okay, from there on out, it's largely algebra. We set up the equation. Okay, we fill in what we need and we answer the question that they've given of us. Okay, usually they will give us maybe different values. So they might tell us an input and tell us the output that goes with that, or give us some information about the output that we have to use. And that's kind of where you need to go from there then. And last thing I've said is to verify the question. So for most of these, you'd nearly be able to check your answer at the end. So I would get into the habit of checking my answer just so that if I'm in a test or something like that, one, that I know how to check my answer, and two, that I just am, that I'm quickly double checking it just to be sure that I'm confident in my answer that I'm presenting. So let's see what I mean by this now when we look into some of these examples here. So the first one says, find the value of f of 2. So what I'm trying to highlight for myself here is that the 2 is in the place of where the x was. Now, if I was to follow my kind of FIFA layout for my questions here, the first thing I would write down would be the function itself. That's kind of filling the place of like formula here. So I might fill in my function. I might make a note for myself that they've told me x is equal to 2. That's all that they've told me. So I'm looking with f of 2 is 4 times 2 plus 2, and that's going to give me an answer of f of 2 equals 10. And just remember as well how we would maybe read that off. I would always read that as f of 2, which means 2 is the input to the function, gives me an answer of 10. So when 2 is put into this function, 10 is the output that goes with it. And if we were to write those down as a kind of couple there, that would be 210, tying them together. Let's try it again with the next one. So this time, different function. We're looking with g of x this time, which is x squared minus 3. What they've told me this time is they've told me x is minus 1. So we're looking at g of minus 1, which is minus 1 squared minus 3, which is going to give me an answer of g of minus 1 is minus 2. Okay, because the minus 1 squared gives you a positive 1, and then 1 minus 3 is minus 2. So same idea again. When an input of minus 1 is put into the function, the output is minus 2. The next one goes a little bit further, so same function as we had the last time, but this time instead of inputting just one expression, the input this time is x plus 2. It's a full, or sorry, instead of inputting just one number, we're inputting a full expression. So let's do that. So I'm putting in x plus 2 here, and within my function, anywhere I see x, I'm going to put that in as well. So x plus 2 goes in here, squared minus 3. I'm not letting myself be thrown off by the fact that it looks a little long-winded. So g of x plus 2 is x squared plus 4x plus 1. So we actually end up with kind of a quadratic equation here, a longer quadratic equation as a result of that. F of k, fairly straightforward there. All they're asking us to do is replace x with k. That's going to become 4k plus 2. So taking those steps of kind of write down your function, what have they told us about the function, and then using that to solve the question can be helpful here, just to really make sure that we're kind of using everything we're told. We're going to see that maybe even more in the next examples here. So this time I'm starting with f of x, so let's do it in the same way again. Let's start by filling out my function first of all, then I'll see what I'm told, and then I will see about answering out the question. So the function here, f of x, is 3x minus 2. The thing that I'm told in part I here is that f of x is equal to 10. So I need to look in my question and see where do I have f of x, because I need to replace it with 10. And that's actually at the start here. It's actually at the start of my question. So I can kind of make two choices here. I can replace it and keep myself kind of tidy in that way, or I could also rewrite this as 3x minus 2 equal to 10. Either of those work. Either of those is going to work for us perfectly fine. Okay, let me make that orange as well. So either of those works absolutely fine as far as I'm concerned. Let's finish out to our answer now. So 3x is equal to 12. So that's me adding 2 to both sides. And then we divide by 3 on both sides to get that x equals to 4. So unbeknownst to ourselves here maybe, we've actually ended up working backwards. This time we were given the answer. We've been given the output value, the y value here, and we have to work back in reverse to get the corresponding x value. Okay, so we kind of see how if we set up the questions in a similar way, we're not going to be thrown off by that. We're not going to be unsure of which of those the question is asking. So let's look at another, this time f again. So let's lay out the function first, is 3x minus 2. They're telling us f of 2k equals 0. So we're looking for f of 2k, which is an answer of 0. And the input value this time seems to be 2k. So I'm putting in an input of 2k and I'm getting out an answer of 0. So let's fill in both of those. So we'll fill in 2k for x, minus 2. So we'll fill in our 2k for x, and we also now know that this actually has an answer of 0. So let's just try and continue answering this out. 0 is 6k minus 2. What I would probably do here then is try and add 2 to both sides. So 2 is equal to 6k, and divide by 6 then to give me a third, to give me k is equal to 1 over 3. Okay, so I'm kind of content with that answer there for myself. Okay, let's continue through another example or two here. We look at the next one, g of x equals 2. So g of x, first of all, is x squared plus 9x plus 6. All I'm told here is that that should be equal to 2. So the whole answer should be 2. As we said already, the other way of writing that would be to just keep it all as normal and add the equals to 2 at the end. That can be easier for us to do. 9x plus 4. And here I'm left now with a quadratic equation, two numbers that multiply to give me 4, but add to give me 9 if you've made a mistake there. Let me double check. 9x plus 6. No, I have not. Okay, so x squared plus 9x plus 4. So two numbers that multiply to give me 4 but ought to give me 9. So they're not going to be whole numbers. So if I was continuing onwards, then I would need to solve the quadratic that I'm left with there. Okay, I would need to solve the quadratic, the results from that. I'm not going to do that here because I don't want to. No, I'm joking, but not really. Let me just double check that I haven't made a little mistake here. Okay, yeah, so we would solve the quadratic that we're left with. We'd get our two possible answers for x. Okay, we kind of continue it all that way. Oh Lord, we're on the clock. Let's look at the next one. Okay, k times f of 2 is equal to 12. Okay, so we're given loads of information here. So first thing is we're told that x equals 2, and we're told that k times f of 2 equals 12. So let's have a look. K times f of 2 is k times 3k minus 2, or 3, excuse me, not k minus 2, 3 times 2 minus 2, which is k times 6 minus 4, or 6 minus 2, excuse me, 4. So 4k is equal to 12, so k is equal to 3. The last one here then tells us f of x is equal to g of x. Well, what is f of x? F of x is 3x minus 2. G of x is x squared plus 9x plus 6. So this is x squared plus 6x plus 8. And we factorize our quadratic there as best we can. So two numbers that would multiply to give me 8 but add to give me 6. X plus 4, x plus 2 equals 0, x equals minus 4, x equals minus 2. So hopefully we're getting a sense of what's involved in our questions here and being able to answer these questions. It's really all coming down to, have they given me a value to input, or have they given me the answer after something has been inputted? So looking at the first one here, it's g of 2, find the value of g of 2. So we've been told x is 2, find g of 2, find the answer. So into my function, I'm putting in 2 everywhere I see x. So g of 2 is the square root of 5 times 2 minus 2, which is the square root of 10 minus 2, which is root 8, which is 2 root 2. Okay. Let's pick another one that looks like it would be interesting. Let's try the 2011 one here. We're told the function is f of x is equal to 3x minus 4, and the information we're given is that f of k is 11. So they've told me that x here needs to be k, and the f of x part needs to be 11, or f of k, I suppose, to even be more specific there. So let's fill in all of those. F of k is 3k minus 4, and the answer is 11. So 3k is 15, and k is 5. So hopefully we're kind of getting that sense of what I'm saying here, of like looking at what are they telling me to fill in, and then what do I need the answer to be as a result of that. That's really all that these questions is breaking down to, is kind of, have they given me the input or have they given me the answer? So let's look at this part, 2009 one. F of x is 5x minus 12, and f of a is equal to a. So they're telling me here, let x be a, and f of a has an answer of a. So let's fill in those things. We need to fill in a as our input here to get 5x minus 12, but they've told me that f of a is still a as well. That should be 5a minus 12. Okay, so we're doing kind of nicely here. I'm going to try and gather things together. So 12 is equal to 4a, which of course means a is equal to 3 then. Okay, just want to look at one of the later ones here to see, look interesting for us. Which of these looks like it's the most interesting for us to do? Let's look at this one. We'll look at part 2. F is the function 1 minus 3x. So f of x is 1 minus 3x. They're asking me to find f of x plus 1. So everywhere we see x in our function, we are going to input x plus 1, which in this case is actually only in one place. 1 minus 3x minus 3, which is minus 3x minus 2. Okay, so they asked me to put them in that order. A and B are elements of Z, which they are here. We were asked for f of minus 2 and g of 5. I think that was the first part, so let's quickly do that part as well. F of minus 2, well again, anywhere we see x in our question, we're going to input that minus 2 to get 1 plus 6, which is 7. Let's do g of 5 is 1 minus 5 squared, 1 minus 25, which is minus 24. So let's look at it here. Now they're asking me for f of x plus 1, which I know to be minus 3x minus 2. They're saying that that is equal to f of minus 2, which I've already worked out it to be 7, and g of 5, which I've already worked out to be minus 24. So let's just tidy that a tiny little bit more. Minus 24. And then we're just proceeding with algebra then. So 7 minus 24 is going to give me 17. 17, so that's minus 17 minus 15. So x equals 5 there. Okay, so for all of these, we're really able to kind of just identify, have they given me an x value or have they given me an answer value? And that really determines what our method is going to be to solve these questions. So I would just encourage you kind of at this point, kind of take those moments to just go, okay, have they told me what x is here or have they told me what f of x is here? And that really is going to determine where in the question you put the value that they've given you, which then in turn will determine how you solve that question.